If your family moved to a strange town and decided to live in a haunted hotel, what would you do? Welcome to a brand new series called Ending Explained, a show where I summarize everything that happens in your favorite movies and TV shows. Today, I'll be explaining the ending to Secrets of Sulphur Springs Season 1. I know this will be a long video, so I want to let you know that I will have timestamps in the description so you can skip to different parts of the video. If you're new to the channel, please click the subscribe button. I'll be covering Season 3 when it drops on March 25th, so there's even more of a reason to subscribe. According to YouTube, less than 2% of my audience is subscribed, so subscribing to the channel will really help out. You can also join my Discord community and type !notify so that you'll be notified when I upload new videos and can even discuss current and future video ideas in the server. Secrets of Sulphur Springs, created by Tracy Thompson, is a show about a boy named Griffin, whose family has moved into a haunted hotel that we'll soon come to know as the Tremont, and get to uncover its many mysteries. Along the way, he meets a girl named Harper, and they instantly become best friends. They work together to try and figure out why the hotel is haunted. The show originally came out in early 2021, then came out for another season a year later. The show has done so well that Disney renewed it a month after airing for a third season, which is what we're all patiently waiting for. Okay, enough talking about the history of the show. Let's start. The series begins briefly showing us a blonde girl wearing red, running down a path towards signs pointing to a camp and hotel. She'll be important later. We then cut to a stormy night where three kids are outside a seemingly empty hotel. They're wondering if the place is really haunted, and let's just say, they're not far off. One of the kids tries looking in a window, only to see a scary looking ghost screaming in his face. Scared shitless, the three kids book it out of there. We immediately come to find out that the girl screaming is just part of a prank Wyatt was playing on his sister Zoe. We also find out that Wyatt was streaming the entire thing. I guess recording and uploading prank videos are so last decade, am I right? Griffin is in his room editing the video of his sister screaming. His dad, Ben, comes in and threatens to take away Griffin's allowance money if he doesn't stop pranking Zoe and Wyatt. Griffin is unhappy about how he had to move from Chicago to Sulphur Springs, causing him to lose all his friends and everything he knows. Ben then talks about how he lived in Sulphur Springs growing up and had a lot of great memories at the summer camp, which, if you remember from before, we saw a sign pointing to that very camp. Griffin is then left looking out his window in thought. Maybe Sulphur Springs isn't so bad after all. Then, the best thing happens, the opening credits. The main theme song is great. Also, if you paid attention, every episode has slightly altered opening credits to show a snippet from the current episode. Cool detail. The next morning, Griffin pretends to rock out and play guitar. His mom Sarah walks in to kill the party. Sarah, why'd you have to do that? Griffin was having fun. Griffin is displeased with being in Sulphur Springs and would rather blow off school instead of go. He just wants to chase his dreams he was forced to leave behind in Chicago. His mom ultimately says no and sends him off to school anyways. At school, Griffin is struggling to open his locker. Out of nowhere, a girl comes by and kicks it open, claiming it's one of the best kept secrets in Sulphur Springs. Griffin then goes to class where the students are asked to introduce themselves. When it comes to Griffin's turn, he expresses his love for music, especially classic rock and blues. Quinn calls his interest lame. The teacher was obviously not too pleased with this remark. Someone covers for Quinn, asking Griffin why he came to Sulphur Springs. He reveals that his family moved to Sulphur Springs to live at the Tremont. The class suddenly goes quiet, making it obvious that the Tremont has a dark past and is known to be haunted. Another student asks Griffin if he's seen Savannah's ghost, something that is a staple for the series. The teacher dismisses this, saying ghosts aren't real. At lunchtime, Griffin finds the girl from before, who introduces herself as Harper. As they talk, Griffin reveals he lives at the Tremont. This surprises Harper, who then shows him a picture of a girl named Savannah. You know, the one we saw at the start of the episode. It's said that she disappeared and was never seen again, causing her to become a myth to explain why the Tremont is haunted. Griffin brings Harper home, who also ends up meeting his brother and sister, Wyatt and Zoe, as well as Griffin's parents. Harper mentions Savannah, which piques the curiosity of the twins. Griffin's parents, on the other hand, don't believe Savannah is real. The power then goes out, which causes Griffin and Ben to head down to the basement to turn it back on. While Griffin is in the basement, he spots a door to a fallout shelter. He also tries talking to Ben about Savannah, since he would have been at the camp at around the same time she vanished, about 30 years ago. Ben claims he didn't know Savannah, which indicates that he must be hiding something. Back upstairs, the twins ask Harper to show them the website she was referring to earlier. Harper doesn't think it's a good idea. The twins find Griffin's laptop and open it to find one of Griffin's Guitar God videos. Come on man, put a password on that thing. It's 2021. After a while, Griffin takes Harper down to the basement to show her the door he saw earlier. They open it and walk down a tunnel to what I'll call the bunker. When they get inside, Griffin couldn't resist, and we get this iconic Star Wars reference.
I am your father.
Looking around, Harper finds an old radio, which is something important for later. Griffin then spots another tunnel. When the duo go to investigate, they see it's a hatch leading to somewhere outside. However, it's not exactly what they think, because things don't look quite right. For one thing, there are a lot of people in front of the Tremont, and the springs haven't dried up. Griffin also spots his dad as a kid because of a picture Sarah showed him earlier. This can only mean one thing. Griffin and Harper travel back in time. Griffin and Harper debate about what just happened. Harper is convinced that they traveled through a portal, causing them to time travel. Griffin, on the other hand, denies all of this and thinks it's just a dream. She tells Griffin she can prove what's happening to them. The twins are wandering the halls in an attempt to look for signs of Savannah's ghost. Zoe wants to split up and have Wyatt check out one of the rooms. Wyatt points out that Zoe would be all alone, but Zoe points out that Wyatt would be an easy target, referring to the fact that his hair is red. This is a reference to Savannah's red shirt they saw in a photo of her. After Wyatt makes his way into one of the rooms, his own reflection in an old mirror scares him. Moments later, Zoe sneaks up behind him and scares him. They then hear a banging noise, thinking it must be Savannah's ghost trying to scare them. The mirror then falls off the wall shortly after, and the twins run out of the room. It wouldn't be much longer until we find out that the banging sound was actually caused by someone at the front door. Thinking it's for the pizza, Sarah answers the door, only to see a woman and her son make their way into the hotel. The woman, Jess, has been trying to text Harper's phone, but hasn't gotten a response. Obviously, this has to do with Griffin and Harper being in the past. Her son, Topher, also has reservations about reopening the hotel, saying the locks should be changed and the keys thrown away. These are clear signs that Harper's family has some dark history with the Tremont. Griffin and Harper are trying to decide how to go about confirming that they traveled back in time. However, moments later, a woman is seen screaming because she saw a snake. One of the employees of the hotel reassures the woman that the snake is actually a fake one. Turns out, this was a prank one of the campers pulled on the guests of the hotel. This in turn causes Griffin and Harper to laugh at the prank. Unfortunately, the employee spots them. Not wanting to get caught or mess up the timeline, they run in an effort to lose them, after Griffin's dad as a young boy tells them to do so. They split up. As Griffin runs, he takes a tag off the suitcase. This will be important later. Young Ben's dad, on the other hand, didn't seem to be too happy, which reveals that the snake prank was young Ben's idea. Griffin eventually catches up with Harper in the bunker. He tells her he'd double back because he didn't want to risk anyone finding the bunker. After some banter about what they just experienced, they make their way back into the main area. Harper makes a shocking realization that she no longer has service on her phone, causing Griffin to speculate that they're stuck in the past. However, this would end up not being the case for long. After they leave the bunker, Harper starts getting notifications on her phone, revealing that the bunker was blocking the signal. Harper then goes on to say that those notifications are from her mom texting her, getting upset that she wasn't responding. They head back upstairs after Ben finds the two of them in the basement. Topher and the twins get talking about Savannah, even referencing what happened at the start of the first episode. Jess is also relieved that Harper is okay, but becomes uneasy when Griffin mentions that they were in the basement. Ben introduces himself to Jess. However, there are hints that they already know each other, which will be important for later. Jess then leaves with Harper and Topher, upset that Harper went over to the Tremont when Jess told her not to. She even says the Tremont is cursed. The next morning, Sarah and Ben wake to find Wyatt and Zoe sleeping on the floor next to their bed. They couldn't sleep in their own room because they are afraid of Savannah's ghost. The twins leave, shortly after Sarah tells them to get ready for school. Outside near the Tremont, Griffin is seen digging up something near the sign pointing to the hotel and camp, which is the same sign we saw in the first episode. We'll get back to this later. After arriving at school, Griffin wants to show Harper something. He tells her he has proof that what happened to them was actually time travel. He then shows her the suitcase tag he buried in the woods 30 years ago, while they were running back to the bunker. Griffin points out that Harper was convinced about the portal, but Griffin wanted to do a test to make sure. He tells Harper to meet him after school to go through the portal. However, Harper reveals that her mom doesn't want them talking or hanging out. Griffin is in his class texting Harper on his phone. Spotting him, the teacher takes Griffin's phone. We then cut to the cafe to see Jess working there. After taking another customer's order, Ben walks in. Jess wants to know why he came back to Sulphur Springs, further confirming that they knew each other sometime in the past. Ben comments that Jess has a nice restaurant. She comments that everyone has moved on and wonders why Ben hasn't. Outside the cafe, Harper sees Ben talking to Jess through the window. At dinner, Sarah tells Ben that she's applied for some jobs, saying that there is a lot more to do when it comes to reopening the Tremont, and that they'll need professional help. Ben is adamant they can do everything themselves, pointing out that he put up the chandelier earlier that day. She reminds him about a mishap he had with Christmas lights, and that the fire department had to come to help to get Ben down. She then says she had to go pick up Griffin's phone from school since he was texting on it during class. A text comes through from Harper, resulting in Wyatt teasing that Griffin has a girlfriend. Annoyed, Griffin tells him to be quiet. He tries to grab his phone from Zoe, but Sarah takes it. Ben tells Wyatt to take off his hat. However, Wyatt says he can't, because Savannah would steal his soul. Sarah asks the twins to have one night without Savannah. Moments later, the chandelier comes crashing down and almost hits the table. Later that night, Griffin walks into the dining room to find Ben fixing the chandelier. Among other things, Griffin tries talking to Ben about his days at the camp and asks if he knew Savannah. Ben denies ever knowing Savannah at all. Spotting his phone, Griffin tries to take it, but Sarah stops him, telling him goodnight. Sometime later, Harper meets up with Griffin in the bunker. She came prepared this time, telling Griffin to leave his phone behind and put on clothes from 30 years ago so that they won't stand out. Just as they're about to climb the ladder, Harper suggests Griffin goes first. As Griffin climbs, he feels the jolt, to Harper's amusement. As they're walking in the woods, they spot Savannah. Griffin and Harper decide to follow her. Savannah sees a scary-looking creature, causing her to scream. It turns out that young Ben was playing a prank on Savannah, pretending to be Moss Man. Savannah then sees Griffin and Harper, questioning why they were there. Young Ben tells Savannah that it's okay, and that he saw them at the hotel the other day. Savannah asks Griffin and Harper for their names. In order to not upset the timeline, Griffin and Harper agree to use the aliases Harry and Hermione, a reference to Harry Potter. Harper asks Savannah what's in her backpack. Surprised, Savannah asks Harper how she knows her name. Thinking on her feet, Harper tells Savannah that she's a legend. Young Ben reveals that it's a supply of punch. Savannah has the idea of dumping the punch into the springs, making it look like it's blood in order to scare everyone. Griffin and Harper join in, agreeing to keep the prank a secret. Harper uses the word epic to describe the results of the prank, which takes Savannah by surprise, saying she likes the new word, implying it never gained popularity 30 years ago. After young Ben and Savannah head off, Griffin realizes that his dad lied to him about knowing Savannah and doesn't know why he would lie. Harper suggests he had something to hide. While they walk, they spot a sign for the camp dance, the same dance when Savannah vanished. This means she'll disappear in less than 3 days. After getting back to the bunker, Griffin is unsure about what to do. He's also worried about trying to change the past. After getting upstairs, Sarah hears Griffin, causing Harper to run and hide. Sarah asks Griffin why he's up. He makes the excuse that he couldn't sleep and was feeling hungry. Sarah says she couldn't sleep either because Ben found old blueprints of the hotel and got excited over them. After Griffin heads upstairs, Sarah hears a noise, which likely came from Harper slipping out. Upon investigating, nobody is there. Harper arrives home to see her brother Topher watching horror movies. The sight of her covered in punch scares him for a moment. Harper blackmails Topher by telling him she won't tell their mom about him watching horror movies if he doesn't tell her that Harper was at the Tremont. Harper then heads to her room. The next morning, Griffin is searching for news articles on his laptop about what happened to Savannah 30 years ago. While he's reading, Griffin hears a sound. He gets up to investigate and finds salt on the floor outside of Zoe and Wyatt's room. They follow Griffin as he follows the sound to find Ben knocking down a wall. When Griffin asks Ben what he's doing, Ben tells him there's a hidden room behind the wall, which he found on the blueprints. Sarah comes in and leads the twins out of the room despite their protests to stay. Shortly after, Griffin and Ben make their way into the room. In it, they find an old tape recorder. Griffin starts to play the tape on the tape recorder. In it is a girl singing. Ben looks uncomfortable and tries to stop the tape to no avail. When he tries to unplug the tape recorder, he gets shocked. We'll come back to this a moment later. Griffin tries asking Ben about the song. Instead of answering him, he avoids the question, suggesting that it's not safe for Griffin to be in that room. Sometime later, Griffin and Harper change into different clothes in the bunker, getting ready to go back in time to figure out how to save Savannah. When they get to the past, they hear campers all singing the same song as the one Griffin and Ben heard previously on the tape. They find Savannah, who tells them that young Ben is around back. Griffin runs off to find young Ben, leaving Harper with Savannah. He finds young Ben relaxing in a hammock. They both talk about their dads, which is ironic because young Ben is Griffin's dad, but young Ben isn't aware of this. Back with Savannah and Harper, Savannah reveals that she's a foster kid and doesn't actually have a family, meaning she goes to a new camp every year. Harper is about to tell Savannah that she and Griffin are from the future, but changes her mind, saying she's from Chicago. Just as Savannah leaves, a girl comes up to Harper and asks her why she's wasting her time with Savannah. She introduces herself as Jess. As you may have guessed, this is Harper's mom, who I'll refer to as young Jess. This moment goes back to earlier when I said that there were signs that Jess and Ben knew each other. This just confirms it. Harper and Griffin make the decision to talk to their respective parents about everything. After Griffin gets home, he goes to find his mom. He tries to tell Sarah about everything that happened, but she doesn't believe him and tells him that he and Harper need to take a break. Harper goes to her mom to ask her if she's ever gone to camp. Jess denies ever going there at all. So not only is Ben hiding things from Griffin, but Jess is also hiding things from Harper. The mystery just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Later that night, Harper uses an open window to sneak into the Tremont and wakes Griffin. They're not sure what to do next. Then, Griffin's door opens all on its own, implying that it's Savannah, encouraging them to go back through the portal. The next day, Griffin helps Ben outside the Tremont. Just as Griffin is about to leave, Ben's dad shows up. He's displeased with Ben's decision to move back to Sulphur Springs and tries to talk him into moving back to Chicago. In the basement, the twins look through boxes and find an old video camera. Griffin and Harper's sudden appearance scares them. The twins are hoping to use the camera to catch Savannah's ghost. Griffin promises to not tell their parents about the twins being in the basement if they promise not to tell them that Griffin and Harper are hanging out. The twins aren't sure how to use the camera, so Harper suggests they go see her brother Topher for help. Griffin and Harper go through the portal to find Savannah and young Jess having an argument about the prank from earlier. Griffin and Harper plan to go talk to their respective parents, who are much younger in the past, to see if they can get anything out of them. Griffin finds young Ben playing his guitar. He tells Griffin that he's writing a song, which he plans to perform at the camp's talent show. Griffin offers to help with writing the song. Harper finds young Jess. They talk about young Ben and Savannah. Young Jess remarks that things would be a lot better if Savannah were gone, suggesting that young Jess had something to do with Savannah's disappearance. After, Griffin and Harper meet up to trade notes. Harper said she couldn't get much from young Jess. When Griffin tells Harper that he helped young Ben write a song, Harper gets upset, causing the two to have an argument. After Griffin gets back, everyone asks him where he was. He comes up with the excuse he was doing homework. Ben's dad praises Griffin for focusing on studying hard to do important things. There is also obvious tension between Ben and his dad in this scene. The twins bring up the fact that they're going to use a camera to catch Savannah's ghost. Ben's dad makes it subtle that he knew Savannah from camp 30 years ago, which only goes to show how tight the secret is. Griffin tries to talk to Ben's dad later, asking about the bad memories, but he avoids the conversation, saying that things like that should be left in the past. The twins find Topher in the cafe and helps them with a camera, despite how he feels about its use. Jess and Sarah are also in the cafe. They talk about Griffin and Harper and agree to be on the same page by working together to keep the two apart. Griffin arrives at school to see Harper waiting for him. They apologize to each other for the other day and agree that they should work as a team. Harper paid Topher in order to skip school for the day so that they can go through the portal. After they arrive in the past, they find a crowd gathered to watch the talent show. Young Ben performs first, playing his song he wrote with Griffin. His dad was not too pleased about what young Ben did. Savannah then performs a rap version of the Camp Tremont song. Everyone in the crowd approves of this. Young Jess seems to approve of this as well. However, Griffin has a feeling Savannah isn't going to win. After some time, young Jess announces that young Ben is the winner for the talent show. Griffin and Harper speculate that young Jess must really hate Savannah and rig the votes in young Ben's favor. Back in the present, Ben's dad tries one last time to convince him to reconsider and move back to Chicago. Ben dismisses his suggestion, saying he can make his own decisions. On his way out, Ben's dad sees Griffin, telling him to stay out of trouble. Griffin talks with Ben, saying he understands why he moved everyone to Sulphur Springs. He thinks that Ben is doing it to help make all the bad memories better. Later, Harper talks to Jess about Mean Girls, referencing what we saw 30 years ago with the rivalry between young Jess and Savannah. Jess warns Harper to stay away from those kinds of people, as it could turn out to be dangerous. Harper video calls Griffin. In the middle of their call, both Jess and Sarah enter their kids' rooms, confronting each of them about skipping school. This results in both Griffin and Harper getting grounded. The next day, Ben is patching up the hole in the wall he made earlier, while also watching a news report on Savannah's disappearance. As we know by now, Ben is very cagey when it comes to these kinds of topics, so he turns off the TV after a few moments. Zoe is also seen eavesdropping on the news report. We'll come back to all of this later. After school, Griffin and Harper talk about their plans. Unfortunately, a metaphorical wrench was thrown into them in the last episode. They're grounded, which makes going back through the portal impossible. While they're talking, both Sarah and Jess pull up to the school, signaling both of them to get into their respective cars. Griffin comments how their parents appear to be working as a team to keep them apart. Over at Harper's, Jess tells Topher that she has to run out to host an event at her shop. She gives him money, telling him to keep an eye on Harper. He's instructed to notify Jess the moment Harper leaves. Shortly after Jess leaves, Harper comes out. After some clever negotiating, Harper is able to pay Topher to keep quiet about her leaving the house. Back at the Tremont, Wyatt walks into where Zoe is, with a box full of things. He seems to have the idea to use some of the items to summon Savannah's ghost. Zoe points out that it's the night of the anniversary of Savannah's disappearance, which is what the news report from earlier was talking about. She goes on to say that Savannah will be haunting the hotel extra hard. Griffin sneaks out and uses the portal to travel back to the past. It would appear that Harper never went with Griffin, or so we thought. It turns out, Harper snuck out and went ahead of Griffin. While on the way to camp, Griffin points out that he's downloaded the news report from earlier onto the tablet. He brought the tablet, something he probably shouldn't have done in the first place, in order to show Savannah. If Griffin were taking a test on time travel, he would most likely fail, since there are rules about changing the past, and that could be dangerous. Changing the past could have unpredictable consequences. If I were him, I would have left that tablet back in the bunker. Harper finds young Jess, who's getting ready to go to the dance. After some talking, Harper offers young Jess some of Jess's makeup, promising it would look good on her. After some hesitation, young Jess tries it and agrees. Harper has just gained young Jess's trust, because young Jess asks Harper if she wants to attend the dance together, stating that she could always use a partner in crime, proceeding to show a small pouch with something in it. As the audience, we think that young Jess will use whatever is in this pouch to do something to Savannah. Jess has come home because her friend let her close up early. She tells Topher that she'll be going into Harper's room to say goodnight. The pressure is on, and Topher needs to be thinking on his feet. Just when we think everything is going to come crashing down, Jess looks into Harper's room briefly to hear snoring coming from her bed. Thinking she's asleep, she leaves. Back at the camp, Savannah is joined by Griffin in a treehouse. While they talk, Griffin tries to show Savannah the news report on his tablet. The problem is, the tablet is dead, which causes Griffin to stress. Savannah is obviously unfamiliar with the concept of rechargeable batteries. She remarks that the tablet being dead isn't as if someone died. This statement coming from Savannah is nothing short of ironic, given that she either died or disappeared. Sarah and Ben are having second thoughts about how they are keeping Griffin away from Harper. Sarah offers to talk to Griffin, but Ben tells her to give him some time, commenting that he's getting really good, which is referring to the sounds of Griffin playing guitar coming from his bedroom. It is then revealed to us that Griffin isn't actually there, and that it's a strategy to trick his parents into believing he hasn't left the hotel. Back in the treehouse, young Ben finds Savannah and Griffin. He wants Savannah to go to the dance. Griffin tries to convince Savannah not to go, calling the dance lame. However, that doesn't work. Griffin decides he will go to the dance after all, to everyone's surprise. While Savannah is making her way to the dance, someone seems to be watching her. Harper arrives at the dance with young Jess. Harper tries asking her if she plans on doing anything that night, alluding to doing anything to Savannah. Young Jess comments how Harper is the one acting weird. Harper is also surprised to see Griffin and Savannah at the dance, and asks Griffin what happened. He explains that the tablet was dead, and that he's sure he charged it before leaving. He believes something must have happened when they arrived through the portal. It is very possible that the electric shock killed the tablet. Young Ben and Savannah interrupt their conversation, telling Griffin to show off his dance moves. He initially refuses, but gives into the pressure. To say that his dance moves were anything but good would be a huge understatement. I will give him this though. He really does a great job improvising on the spot, which is something all these characters had to do from the start of the series. We finally get to see what was in the bag that young Jess was holding from earlier. It turns out, it was just a tape. Young Jess gives the tape to the DJ who puts it in. When the song begins to play, Savannah tells young Ben that she loves the song and asks young Ben to dance. This upsets young Jess. Griffin notices this and tells Harper. They dance together. Harper comments that this is more of Griffin's pace, referring to the slower song compared to earlier. Young Jess tells Harper that she knew she would ask young Ben to dance. She goes on to tell Harper that she humiliated her in front of everyone. Harper tries defending herself, telling young Jess she would never do that, but young Jess is having none of it. With the dance now over, everyone gathers around a campfire. One of the campers tells a scary story about Mossman. Harper tells Griffin that the campfire is almost over, and that something will happen to Savannah soon. While everyone is gathered around listening to the story, a girl named Becky comes out of nowhere to scare them. Someone put itching powder in her bed, and this was her way of getting back at them. Griffin and Harper seem to be enjoying their evening, because when they look to see where everyone is, they've left, including Savannah. It is now a race against the clock to figure out where Savannah went. Griffin and Harper check the bunkhouse. The girls inside aren't too pleased to see Griffin in there. They try asking the girls about Savannah, but they're not being taken too seriously. Frustrated, Griffin and Harper leave and go to check the hotel. Sarah says goodnight to the twins. She is completely oblivious to the fact that Griffin is still gone. Once the coast is clear, Wyatt and Zoe make plans to go down to the basement and attempt to communicate with Savannah's ghost. Savannah and young Ben are in the treehouse, talking about young Jess's behavior. It would turn out that young Jess followed Savannah and young Ben to the treehouse. She dares Savannah to spend the rest of the night in the basement, implying that there are ghosts down there. Savannah says she isn't afraid of anything, including young Jess. She tells Savannah that everything would be better if she were gone. I guess in some way, you could say that young Jess should be careful what she wishes for, since Savannah is due to vanish very soon. Griffin and Harper enter the hotel. As they look around, they run into young Jess. Harper wants to smooth things over with her from earlier. This annoys Griffin because they are on the clock and need to find Savannah before she's gone. This was their biggest mistake, because it gives young Jess enough time to ask one of the hotel employees about Griffin and Harper, aka Harry and Hermione, and whether or not they're guests. Griffin and Harper try to be casual about it. Unfortunately, this doesn't work, and they are brought to the manager's office. The manager asks Griffin and Harper for the names of their parents. Griffin gives the name James Potter, and Harper gives the name Lily Potter. She also says that their names are Mr. and Mrs. Granger, which is a reference to the Harry Potter character Hermione Granger. These kids must really love Harry Potter. Unfortunately for them, the manager is unable to find their parents in the hotel system and proceeds to lock them in his office. Topher joins Jess outside. While they're talking, the snoring sound from earlier in Harper's room plays on Topher's phone. Jess is suspicious and doesn't buy Topher's excuse. He makes up another, saying he put a mic in her room to keep an eye on her. He goes inside to unplug it. He knows the show will be over soon, so he goes inside and frantically texts Harper. Griffin and Harper are still locked inside the manager's office. They have no intention of staying there, so they plan to escape. Griffin knows his own hotel by now, and knows that there's a hidden door they can use to get out. When they start to walk away from the office, one of the staff spots the two. Their only option is to run like hell out of the hotel. Elsewhere, Savannah and young Ben are hanging out in the treehouse, with young Jess gone. Savannah tells him she can do the dare no problem. He tells her that she doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. Back in the present, the twins have just made their way into the basement and set up their camera to catch the ghost. They then proceed to try and summon it. The lights begin to flicker, which makes the twins believe that the ghost is listening. Griffin and Harper have made it back from the past. They leave the bunker, only to find the twins gathered in the basement. Whatever they tried to do didn't work. In order to get the twins out of the basement, Griffin throws a can of soup at them, while hiding behind the shelves. This works because they run out of the basement screaming. After a moment, Griffin and Harper decide to try and go back to save Savannah. Unbeknownst to them, everything is about to go horribly wrong. Just as they're about to go back to the bunker, the power goes out. Topher is still trying to reach Harper. He finds Jess waiting outside of Harper's room. She explains that the power is out all over town. Topher tries to block the door, but Jess makes her way past. She discovers that Harper isn't actually home and asks if she's at the Tremont. When Griffin and Harper finish climbing out of the bunker, neither of them feel the jolt as they were going through. It is not long until they discover that the portal didn't work. They don't have time to process this because Ben and Jess find them. It's game over for Griffin and Harper. Back in the past, Savannah sneaks out of the treehouse in the middle of the night while young Ben is asleep. She's later seen opening the basement door of the hotel and is about to make her way down the stairs, which means she'll be attempting the dare young Jess made previously. Griffin and Harper are brought back to the Tremont. Sarah, Ben, and Jess all question them, asking where they've been all night. In order to not reveal the existence of the bunker and the fact that they've been traveling through time, Griffin makes up the excuse that he snuck off with Harper to talk and play cards. Harper throws in that they had their first kiss, which we know never happened. Harper claims she didn't want to bring it up because it was embarrassing. The parents then tell their kids that they are grounded for a long time. The twins come out of hiding, wanting to hear more about the kiss. Sarah and Ben have had enough for the night and tell Griffin to head off to bed with the twins. When they're gone, Sarah asks Ben if he believed anything Griffin and Harper said. He doesn't buy it. The next day, Harper and Topher are outside Jess's cafe. Harper is doing her homework while her brother is putting out the garbage. Jess comes outside and talks to Harper about her romance with Griffin. Harper says it's really not that special. Jess knows Harper is still keeping things from her. Harper points out Jess does the same thing. Jess gives in, saying she did go to camp with Ben and was there the night Savannah went missing. She goes on to say that it was a terrible experience, which is why she didn't want to talk about it. After a few moments, the power comes back. Before Jess goes back inside, she asks Harper to check up on Topher. Harper receives messages from Griffin, telling her the power is back and to come over. Harper finds Topher and is able to bribe him, which buys her enough time to go hang out with Griffin. Before she leaves, she gives Topher a hug, something she doesn't normally do. Harper arrives at the Tremont, sneaking in through the side door. Griffin is helping Ben to make sure all the lights work. When asked to check the other outlets, Griffin sees Harper. While Ben isn't looking, he sneaks off and follows Harper to the basement. Unfortunately for them, their time is almost up, and so they hurry to the bunker to go back to the past. After Griffin and Harper arrive in the past, they find young Ben, telling him to come out to talk about what happened to Savannah. Before they can get anything from him, he heads off to a camp meeting. In the present, Griffin and Harper's parents can't find either of them, so they decide to call the police. Ben and Jess talk about what happened to Savannah. Ben promises that he won't let the present day end like the one in the past. People are already out looking for Savannah. This means they never change the past. Later, they spot a police officer asking Becky questions about what happened last night, and why she didn't search for Savannah then. Becky explains she wasn't there for lights out, because two kids were causing trouble, meaning Griffin and Harper. Before they can do anything, Becky spots them. They try to run, but their path is cut off by another police officer. Back in the present, the police come back to tell Sarah and Ben that they haven't found Griffin and Harper yet. Upstairs, Wyatt and Zoe talk to Topher about what they saw last night, referring to how they caught what they believe to be Savannah's ghost on camera. Zoe explains how Griffin hated it here before he met Harper, and how they fell in love. Topher is annoyed he was covering Harper for that. Griffin and Harper are in a police car. The police officer is taking them to child services. Griffin protests, saying they do have families. It's also been made obvious that Griffin and Harper have revealed their true identities, since the officer stated that there is no record of their family names at the hotel, referring to Griffin's last name, Campbell. A call then comes over the police radio, saying they found something in the lake. To that, the officer reverses direction and heads back to the Tremont. Back at the lake, young Ben is acting very weird, as if he knew what happened or at least was involved in Savannah's disappearance. It is also revealed that what they found in the lake was just a sleeping bag, meaning Savannah could still be alive somewhere. Back in the police car, Griffin and Harper are trying to figure out how to escape. They see young Ben passing by. They try banging on the windows to get his attention, but he ignores them while walking past. Inside the hotel, young Ben is seen opening the basement door. He walks down the stairs, calling out for Savannah. Young Jess sees him, wondering why young Ben would think Savannah would be in the basement. Realization dawns on her about the dare she made earlier. Upset, young Ben tells young Jess that none of this would have happened if it hadn't been for her dare. He runs out of the hotel, upset. While young Ben is running out of the hotel, he bumps into his dad, Griffin's grandfather. Young Ben confesses to his dad that it's all his fault. Griffin and Harper are still in the police car and hear this confession and are surprised. Young Ben's dad tells him not to say another word and proceeds to tell him to get into the car, presumably so that they can leave town before young Ben becomes a suspect. Young Ben's confession leaves a lot of unanswered questions, such as what happened to Savannah, why young Ben confessed, and why Ben moved back to Sulphur Springs 30 years later. Back in the present, the twins are walking the halls, talking about Griffin and Harper. They then hear the sound of the old tape recorder, which, if you can remember, is behind one of the walls in a secret room. Wyatt and Zoe go to investigate. Wyatt wants to get his hat, but Zoe tells him there's no time. We notice the tape recorder is unplugged, and yet the tape is playing. Back in the past, Griffin and Harper were able to grab the attention of a police officer. Griffin asks him if they can let him and Harper go. The officer says no, as it's against protocol. If we know Griffin and Harper well enough, then we know they've come up with a plan to escape. Harper comes up with the idea to ask the officer to use the bathroom. After some persuasion, the officer lets her out. Griffin tries getting out, but the officer stops him, telling him he can only let one person out at a time. In the present, Sarah has the idea of contacting Griffin's old contacts from Chicago. She believes that he would leave Sulphur Springs and go to a place he already knows, being Chicago. Moments later, the twins come bursting in, telling Ben and Sarah about the song they heard in the secret room, saying it was Savannah's ghost. Sarah has had enough and leaves Ben to deal with Wyatt and Zoe's new discovery. When they try telling Ben what they heard, Ben makes up an excuse to try and explain it, and looking very shaken from the whole thing. Over at Harper's, Jess and Topher are looking for something of Harper's in order to help the police with the search. While they search, Jess finds a piece of paper which shows details about the talent show from 30 years ago. After some time, Topher believes he knows where Harper is, telling Jess to get her keys. Back in the past, the officer escorts Harper to a bathroom in the hotel. When he tries to check on Harper from the outside, there's no response. After some hesitation, he opens the door to discover that Harper escaped through a window. Shortly after, Harper runs to the police car and lets Griffin out. Griffin initially plans to use the portal to go back to the present, but Harper convinces him that they should go see young Jess, as she was one of the last people seen running out of the hotel before young Ben confessed. Young Jess is less than happy to see them. She clearly doesn't want to answer any questions about young Ben and threatens the two of them with Becky if they don't leave. After they leave, an idea dawns on Harper. Since Savannah had all night to be in the basement, then it is possible that she had more than enough time to discover the bunker, just like how Griffin and Harper discovered their bunker in the present. Harper theorizes that Savannah must have traveled through time, just like them. Jess and Topher make their way to the cemetery. Topher believes Harper would come to this place to visit her dad, who died years ago. Topher was much younger when her dad died, so it's not the same for Topher as it is for Harper. Back in the past, Griffin and Harper make their way into the hotel's basement. Harper believes that Ben, both past and present, might know about the bunker and the portal as well. She theorizes that Ben didn't want to disappear along with Savannah, so he must have made a pact to come back at a later time to bring Savannah back. This could explain why Ben decided to move back to Sulphur Springs 30 years later. In the present, Ben is in the secret room trying to communicate with Savannah. Sarah sees him and wants to know what's going on. Later, Ben takes her to the old campsite. It is at this moment Ben confessed that he lied about all the happy memories. Griffin and Harper emerge from the bunker. Harper initially believes that nothing has changed, but she did feel the shock. Harper has the idea to check the bunkhouse, but Griffin points out it's no longer there. They both look over to find a banner saying the camp will open soon, and the year is 1960. Griffin and Harper have traveled back nearly 60 years in total. There's also a storm coming, so they need to quickly find Savannah and leave through the portal. Back with Sarah and Ben, Ben reveals that he did know Savannah from camp and that he knew Jess from 30 years ago. Sarah is understandably upset that Ben lied to everyone, and Jess knew it. In 1960, Griffin and Harper find the hotel, but it isn't open. Griffin is confused because the hotel is opened in 1944, referencing a map on the wall from his time, which shows the date on it. They then encounter a man who tells them that a storm is coming and that they should leave. He's boarding up the windows, presumably so that the hotel is protected from the storm. After he heads off, they spot a shadow behind one of the windows, suggesting someone could be inside, and that someone could be Savannah. Griffin and Harper enter the hotel and find Savannah there. She is completely oblivious to the impending dangers of the storm and thinks all of what's happened has been an elaborate prank. Harper pleads with Savannah to come with her and Griffin, as it could change everything. Back in the present, Ben tries talking to Jess, telling her Sarah now knows the truth. He tries to apologize, but Jess doesn't want to hear it, and just cares about getting Harper and Griffin back safely. Elsewhere, Sarah is talking with someone on the phone, upset that Ben lied to her. She plans to pack and move back to Chicago. Her phone call cuts out, and she sees a word written on a mirror in front of her: stay. The ghost is communicating with Sarah, telling her not to leave. Back in 1960, Griffin, Harper, and Savannah are on the way to the hatch. The storm has gotten much worse. Savannah trips, causing her to slow down. It takes some effort, but Griffin and Harper get the hatch open. They decide to climb down, hoping Savannah will follow. What happens next is a very heartbreaking moment for the characters and the audience. It seems like Savannah isn't far behind. However, just as she's about to reach the hatch, a tree falls on top, causing the hatch to slam shut. Savannah is trapped, and there's no way to save her. Back in the present, Sarah is still trying to process what she saw written on the mirror. Wyatt and Zoe find her and try to ask her what happened. They think she saw a ghost. Sarah denies this. Just then, things ramp up in intensity, and the lights start to flicker. Sarah can tell that something is wrong and tells the twins that they will be leaving the hotel. Before she can leave the hotel, she is startled by one of the police officers entering the hotel. They tell Sarah that they found something. Zoe tells Ben to get over to the Tremont. In 1990, Griffin and Harper desperately try to open the hatch to rescue Savannah. Despite everything, they can't, and Harper suggests they return to the present. Griffin initially refuses, not wanting to give up. However, Harper assures him that they can find out what happened to Savannah after the storm, as there most likely will be articles written about it. Griffin relents, and they leave together. On their way back, they see Jess talking to a male camper. This will be important later. Back in the present, Jess gives one of the officers one of Harper's sweaters. The search dog sniffs it and immediately runs off. It gets to the hatch cover and scratches at it. This is the same cover Griffin and Harper came out of a few episodes earlier. Moments later, Jess gets a text from Harper. Everyone heads back to the Tremont where Griffin and Harper are waiting. They make up a story that they hated being kept apart and ran off together. Griffin goes on to say that Harper eventually talked him into coming back. Jess takes Harper and Topher to the cemetery to visit their dad. While there, Harper is able to learn more about her dad, like how they met. Remember that male camper from earlier? Well, this is where that ties in with the present. Jess explains to Harper that Jess met her dad, Chris, on the last day of camp. He offered to help Jess with her big duffel bag. Jess regrets not talking more about Harper's dad ever since he died. Griffin is searching for information about the storm in 1960 in the hopes that he'll find out what happened to Savannah after they had to leave. Unfortunately, there isn't much to go off of. Griffin also can't help but overhear Ben and Sarah fighting. Sarah can't handle all of this anymore and wants to move back to Chicago. The next morning, Harper arrives at school. She tries to go in, but the doors are locked. The teacher notices her and asks why she's there early. Harper explains that she was hoping to get information on the storm in 1960. She goes on to say that she has already checked the internet and wasn't able to find much. She was hoping the school had more information. The teacher says that she knows of the storm Harper was talking about and that all the information is stored on microfilm. After some time, she lets Harper enter the school. At the Tremont, it's revealed that Ben left after the fight he had with Sarah the previous night and hasn't come back yet. She breaks the news to Griffin that they will be moving back to Chicago. Griffin says that he'd be happy to move back, but he likes it in Sulphur Springs now because he met Harper. In the library, Harper is looking through the microfilms about the storm, as well as what happened after. The teacher admires Harper's passion for Sulphur Springs history. While Harper is talking, she comes across a picture of the hotel. Lots of people are gathered there, and one of them happens to be Savannah. She's alive. Griffin video calls Harper. Harper takes the opportunity to tell him her discovery. Noticing Griffin not being at school, she asks him about it. He breaks the bad news to her, telling her it's not by choice, and that he's moving back to Chicago. Harper can't believe it. Griffin's family needs him, so he ends the call with Harper. Sarah calls Jess, asking if Ben is there. Jess can tell she's upset, and tells Sarah that she thinks she knows where Ben went. The twins enter Griffin's room. Griffin asks them why they're not packing to move. They explain that they're on strike and don't want to move. Just then, Harper comes in. Wyatt and Zoe poke fun at Griffin and Harper and leave so that they can be alone. Harper can't believe Griffin is packing. Griffin says that he now knows Savannah is in 1962, but says the portal can only take them back 30 years at a time. Harper suggests that there might be a way to control it. Griffin points out that since Savannah is alive, it wouldn't make sense for her to haunt the Tremont. Harper asks him if he's sure it's Savannah. He tells Harper he has something to show her, likely referring to the secret room we saw earlier. Sarah finds Ben and asks him if he was able to get any sleep the previous night. He tells her no and apologizes for leaving. Ben continues to tell Sarah about how he may have been involved in Savannah's vanishing. During the night Savannah vanished, Ben ended up following her to the basement. They kept each other company for a while by telling stories and jokes. He goes on to say that they both heard a noise, causing young Ben to run off. It is presumed that Savannah ended up staying in the basement. Obviously, we now know the rest. Ben, however, isn't aware of Savannah finding the portal and traveling back in time. Ben feels guilty and says that Griffin was right about him wanting to make bad memories better. Back at the Tremont, Griffin and Harper are in the secret room. He shows Harper the tape machine, since that's where the singing was coming from. Remember that radio we saw in the bunker in the series premiere? Well, Harper ends up finding one just like it. Turning the radio around, they notice what looks like a combination dial. Griffin tries to adjust it, but it doesn't budge. He suggests Harper try. Just as she's about to, the numbers scramble, settling into the combination 34537. Harper believes the numbers are a code, but is not sure for what. Moments later, the two arrive in the bunker and find the radio. Unfortunately, the back is sealed shut. Harper finds a screwdriver, which allows them to open the back of the radio. The interior design looks exactly like the one they found in the secret room. Griffin makes the suggestion that they input the combination and comments that Harper should do it, as it appears to only respond to her. After entering the combination, the radio surges with power, causing a button to pop out. Griffin is unsure of what to do next. After some consideration, they press the button, which causes a small door to open on the front, where they see another combination. After they read the combination, they discover that it translates to the year 1990, and have reason to believe that they could change it to any year they want. Harper suggests they try 1962. After sliding the Roman numerals to translate into 1962, nothing happens. However, Harper smacks the top of the radio, causing it to work again. Griffin jokingly says that he should never underestimate the power of the locker ninja, which is a reference to when they first met at school. Over at Harper's, Jess and Topher talk about his dad and how he died, while looking at old pictures. Topher sees a car in one of the pictures, and comments that it must have been the car Harper's dad, Chris, was driving when he had the accident that killed him. Griffin and Harper arrive in 1962. While they try to look for Savannah, they are stopped by someone named Greg, who says they can't go inside the hotel. More accurately, he's referring to Harper, saying she can't. Griffin doesn't understand until Harper explains. You see, back in the 60s, people of color didn't have equal rights, and so that's what's being shown in this particular scene. Griffin tries to tell Greg that Harper is his best friend, but he still isn't allowing entry for her. They give up, about to go back home, until Savannah sees them. This is the moment Griffin and Harper come clean to Savannah about who they are by telling them their real names. Savannah also explains that she's no longer a foster kid and has a family now. When Griffin and Harper ask Savannah to come back through the portal with them, she refuses, saying she has a family and is afraid of getting stuck in their time, like what happened in the previous 2 episodes. We also learn that the treehouse featured earlier on actually came from this time. Savannah goes on to say that she always felt a connection with it, and now she knows why. Before Griffin and Harper leave, Savannah says she has an idea. We'll get back to this later. Back in the present, Wyatt and Zoe notice that there's no more cold spots in the hotel, and believe Savannah is no longer haunting the place. They tell this to Sarah and Ben. However, they still have plans to move back to Chicago. Moments later, Harper comes in, telling Ben to come quickly, claiming that Griffin fell when exploring an old treehouse. When they get there, Griffin is fine. It is then that Ben sees something, an old coffee can. He pulls out a piece of paper from inside of it and reads it. He now thinks he knows what happened to Savannah. It is later revealed to be a letter from Savannah. The letter explains that she ran away from camp in order to find a family. This is a huge turning point for Ben because he now knows he wasn't responsible for her disappearing 30 years ago. Ben explains he found the letter in an old coffee can he and Savannah used to pass messages to each other. Before Harper goes home, she tells Griffin that he said something earlier which surprised her. She is referring to when Griffin said that Harper was his best friend. After all, Harper was the first person he met when he first moved to Sulphur Springs. Had it not been for them crossing paths, this series might have turned out much differently. Later that night, Griffin video calls Harper. He believes that before he moves back to Chicago, they should do something to the radio in the bunker so that nobody else can use it. After all, it's a big responsibility, and the last thing anyone wants is someone using it to travel through time and end up destroying the timeline. They agree to sleep on the decision until tomorrow. Sarah and Ben are having second thoughts about moving. Sarah suggests they don't move and stay instead, pointing out that the kids like it in Sulphur Springs. The next morning, Griffin comes downstairs to find out that everyone will be staying in Sulphur Springs. This makes Griffin happy. He goes to call Harper about it, but she doesn't answer. It wouldn't be until a little later we find out why. It turns out, Harper has traveled to the past to the day her dad died. She's hoping she can stop it from happening. She sees cars driving down the road. As soon as she sees Chris's car, she stops him on the road. He then asks her if she needs help. Harper then explains that she needs a ride back into town, claiming her bike broke near the creek. After getting into his car, Harper has him take a different road in an attempt to change the past. Chris's car almost hits another vehicle, but Harper is able to warn him in time, commenting that's why she's there. Later at the Tremont, Griffin and Ben are both playing their guitars. Neither of them have played for a very long time, especially Ben, ever since he went to Camp Tremont. He also tries playing a part of the song Griffin helped him write, but made the same mistake he made 30 years ago. Ben tells Griffin he had a dream about the talent show. The only difference was that Griffin was there, which is true because Griffin did travel back in time to that moment. Back in the past, Harper and Chris have coffee at the cafe. However, it's not being run by Jess. While there, Chris tells Harper that he wants to buy the Tremont. He makes a shocking revelation, saying that the Tremont has been in his family for generations. He even worked at the hotel to help out with the camp. Before Chris leaves, Harper hugs him, which is understandable given the relationship, which Chris isn't aware of. Back in the present, Zoe finds Wyatt in Sarah's room. When Zoe asks him what he's doing, he explains that the rocking chair moved all on its own. Zoe joins him to watch. Just as she does, the chair starts to move. They ask if it's Savannah, and the ghost responds with no, writing it on the mirror. Just as Harper is making her way to the portal, Griffin runs into her. He tells Harper he won't be moving after all. Harper tells Griffin that she saved her dad, Chris, from the car accident, and fills Griffin in on the other details, like how Chris wanted to buy the Tremont. Harper is confident that things have changed. Griffin, on the other hand, doesn't think so. When Harper gets home, she makes the realization that her dad isn't around, despite her efforts. She goes into her room and remembers what really happened. It turns out it wasn't a car accident that killed him, but an accident at the lake. I like how this twist is kept a secret, because Topher always referred to it as the accident, which could mean anything. Harper ended up blocking out that entire day due to how traumatic it was. The doctors told Jess not to tell Harper and let everything come back on their own. Back at the Tremont, Griffin finds Wyatt and Zoe gathered around the rocking chair. He agrees to sit down to watch it with them. When they leave the room to get snacks, the rocking chair suddenly stops rocking and wet footprints are seen. Griffin follows them down to the basement, where he finds Harper. She apologizes for not believing him. Then, something crazy happens. Savannah is there, which surprises Griffin and Harper. She came back because she found a picture of Harper, saying Griffin and Harper's time traveling isn't over yet. After arriving in 1930, Griffin, Harper, and Savannah find the Tremont. It's not a hotel. Instead, it's a farmhouse. Entering it, they notice how different it is. Hearing music coming from another room, they follow the sound to find what looks to be the radio from the bunker. Hearing noise coming from upstairs, they investigate. They open a door to a room where they see a man in a rocking chair. He spots them, and they have no choice but to run. When they get to the front door, the trio come face to face with a girl who looks exactly like Harper. And with that was all of Season 1 explained. Before I get to the outro of this video, I want to point out something you might have missed at the end of the finale. Normally, the end credits don't have much to them. However, for episode 11, the end credits give us the Camp Tremont song. If you stick around, there's a short scene at the end where we hear someone screaming, along with the view of the farmhouse. It's a pretty good detail if I do say so myself. That's all for today's video. I know this was a long one, and I completely understand if you didn't watch all of it. My next video will be going over Season 2, so make sure you keep an eye out for that when it drops. If you'd like to watch more of my content, click any of the boxes on screen now. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day.